Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Journey. So today I'm joined with our guest, Ashley. So thank you, Ashley, for coming onto the show. Ashley is someone who calls herself the good girl dropout. Her work goes deep beyond business strategy and into emotional healing, truth, and what it really means to build a business that's aligned with who you really are. This conversation isn't just about business today, but it's about the human journey that comes with it. And as we know, entrepreneurship doesn't allow us to hide. Good if it did, but unfortunately it does not. And it does stretch us and it cracks us open, and it often becomes one of the greatest spiritual teachers of our lives. So with that being said, Ashley, I wanted to get you to open up the conversation and share with us in your own words who you are and describe what it is that you do and who it is that you do.
Okay. So I call myself on socials the good girl dropout because I was very much a people pleaser for most of my life. That's what I center a lot of my work around. But I am an emotional healing practitioner. I'm a certified self-love coach. And like I said, I'm a recovering people pleaser, if you will. But I started this work back in 2019 through my own healing journey. And I found the modality self-directed healing, which is the modality that I use as an emotional healing practitioner. Yeah. And it absolutely just rocked my world. I have never experienced significant shifts so quickly. I've done lots of therapy, lots of different healing modalities, but this work just blew my mind. And I knew that it was going to be really powerful. It was still kind of relatively new back in 2018, 2019 when I first started working with a practitioner. Mm-hmm. And I loved it so much. Went through my own kind of hardships through 2020, which I'll get into, I guess, as we go along. That led me to becoming a practitioner and doing this work. And I want to work with women who, were similar to me in that they were people pleasing their way through life. And it's not just through relationships and where it kind of stemmed from childhood, but into business and into other areas of your life that stops you from actually living a really, really full and fulfilling life, I guess. So that's kind of a little bit in a nutshell of what I do and who I do it for.
Yep, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. Would you say that there was that one moment that broke you open, that led you into this work? I can appreciate you mentioned it was people pleasing, but was there a particular moment, throughout your life of people pleasing that you're like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to please everyone and, lose myself in that process. Like, who am I? What am I doing? Who am I doing it for? Was there a particular moment where that really sort of that cracked you open and you're like, no more, time for change? Or do you think it was just a build up of many moments in the process of?
So I'll share two separate kind of events or experiences, because the first one was the reason I started healing in the first place was because of a man. I very much wanted to find my life partner and I thought he was it. And, from a people pleaser, I guess the identity that I was living at that stage, I just wanted him to choose me. So I started healing so that he would choose me, people pleaser 101, right? Anyway, so as I was going through my healing journey, I realized he wasn't it. Thankfully, dodged that bullet. But I really started to turn my focus inward into, choosing myself and, growing in love with myself again, because I realized how much of my life I had been living for everybody else. And I was so done with that. But then flash forward to 2020. So that was kind of the beginning. And then 2020, I had two very difficult experiences, and I'll kind of lead with a bit of a trigger warning here. I became the victim of a sexual assault, and then 6 weeks later, one of my best friends died from cancer. So the lowest of low points that you can imagine. But the reason why I was really kind of cracked open and kicked into this work that I'm doing is because all of the healing work that I had done up to that point using that self-directed healing modality and all the self-love and the emotional work that I had been doing actually carried me through those two horrible and difficult experiences to the point where I knew I knew what I needed. I knew how to take care of myself. I wasn't relying on anybody else to get me through that. And it wasn't coming from a hyper independent place. It was a genuine, I need to take care of myself here. I have goosebumps. I need to take care of myself. And I knew how to. But from that point on, I knew that no matter what happened in life, I was going to be okay. Good, bad, ugly, different. I knew I was going to be okay. And that's when I kind of realized I need to give this gift to everybody, anyone and everyone that I can. And that's kind of really what like pushed me into doing what I'm doing.
Do you mind if I ask you what those healing modalities were exactly in a nutshell, just for the audience that may be listening to this, wondering how is it that, what are these healing can mean so many things.
Yeah.
Because that sounds quite powerful, what you were going through, with your own journey, and then having lost a really close friend to you to cancer. That's a double whammer. That's not an easy thing to get through. And yet here you are, full of strength at that point, and you managed to navigate through it in such a way that, I'm curious to know, like, what were these healing modalities? You don't have to go into too much detail. But
no, that's okay. I'm happy to share. It's the modality that I actually use with my own clients now, and it's called self-directed healing. So self-directed healing, it works on a whole, kind of the whole human, the whole person. So it's not just mental. It can help with physical ailments and things like that as well, but it more touches on that. But it's emotional, it's energetic, it's spiritual. And essentially what happens is you are identifying emotions, and usually they're attached to limiting beliefs or vice versa. So we're working with limiting beliefs and emotions that are stuck within the body. And then we're processing those using the technique, which is to, name it, find it in the body. It's kind of like emotional mapping. And being able to actually feel it in a really healthy way so it releases naturally from the body. And that way you're kind of releasing all of the emotional baggage. But then again, like I said, you're preparing yourself for any kind of, emotional disturbances, if you will, moving forward. So anytime fear comes up, you know how to actually process it through your body, not just positive affirmation it away or, shake it off and things like that. It's using somatic work as well as, mental practices to deep-seated emotion and pain from the body and trauma.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I feel like we need to do a podcast where we just go deeper into just that topic alone. But I know we don't have enough time for that today, but I'm so fascinated, and I feel like I don't just want to leave it at that. I want to know more about what that entails and how you go through that in stages. But because of time restrictions, we're going to keep moving. So you call yourself the Good Girl Dropout. What does that mean, and who were you before you stepped into the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, so the Good Girl Dropout just came from, I guess, people pleaser, essentially, and I guess dropping out of that identity that I had for pretty much my whole life, which I didn't realize until I started healing. But I was the good girl in the family. That's where it began. I had 3 other siblings, single mother, and I saw what all the chaos that my siblings were kind of creating, just as kids being kids, created from my mum. So I was very attuned to my mum's emotions, and I took a lot of responsibility for her emotions as well. So I would do everything that I could to keep the peace and make sure that she was okay. So I took on that caretaker role, never rocked the boat. I was just the good girl. My mum would always describe me as the placid one, and I wore that as a badge of honor. I was so proud of, being the good girl in the family. That followed me into my work environment as an adult as well. So I was the yes person. I said yes to every and any project. And I do think it benefited me in a lot of ways, but there was a lot of burnout. I was sick often. I was running myself into the ground a fair bit, burning the candle at both ends kind of experiences. But I also realized that I was following everybody else's rules around me as well. So I ended up leaving my role as a risk manager. I did that for just over a decade. Corporate, very intense kind of role, but I just wanted to step away and really kind of shift the identity from looking after everyone else to really focusing in on myself. And I was lucky enough that I got promoted overseas. So I was living on the other side of the world with no support system, none of my normal kind of environmental, I guess, conditioning. And I was able to just focus on myself. So that really helped me. And dropping out of the good girl culture meant breaking the rules that I thought were actually keeping me safe, which was, saying no, disappointing people, and letting go of perfectionism. I was the master of hiding my needs, and now I'm the opposite, and I help other women honor their needs instead of hide them.
It's amazing. Again, something that I feel like we could spend so much time. I feel like with your answers, there's so much more time that's needed. Where this could easily be like a 3-hour conversation.
Easily.
Easily a 3-hour conversation. It's changed who you are.
Honestly, it was the amount of work that I was doing on myself and a reflection of understanding where it comes from at the root. So I had 2 woundings, which was I'm not enough and I am too much. And so simultaneously working on both of those, when you don't have those beliefs and you can work through them, then it is easy to say no and not really feel guilty, but also understanding that being super comfortable feeling any emotion, I'm not scared of disappointment. I'm not scared to feel guilty. I still feel them for sure. There's plenty of reasons why I do, but I can work through that discomfort knowing that, again, I'm not going to be attacked by a bear if I say no. Like it's rewiring your whole system from a mental and a somatic level.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. What beliefs about healing or success did you have to unlearn in order to truly embody this path?
So it was probably those 2 beliefs that I just mentioned. So I'm not good enough was the first one that kind of like really hit me like a freight train. I still remember the day. It was December 9th, 2019, that I realized I had the belief I'm not good enough. Working on I'm not good enough has helped me say goodbye to things like imposter syndrome and also the fear of failure. So working on that was really important for that perspective. Feeling like you're not good enough and then fear of failure, they kind of go hand in hand. So as soon as I kind of got rid of the root of I'm not good enough, then I'm not really scared to fail. I don't see anything as a failure. And then working through I'm too much helped me with my fear of success and stepping into my authenticity, being as big and as bold and just myself. And both of those took a lot of emotional processing. So obviously fear, self-abandonment and rejection were at the root of those wounds as well, as long with a lot of deep hurt and grief, and anger was a really fun one to kind of work through as well. So again, it was emotional processing underneath those beliefs that really changed the game for me in business and how I saw success.
So how do you think someone can tell that they're running their business from a place of trauma and not truth? And if they recognize it's coming from trauma, what steps can they take to shift that?
Do you want the short or the long answer?
Let's go with the long answer. We want the detail.
Yeah. So essentially, businesses that are built on trauma are going to demand a lot from you, and it doesn't really give a whole lot back because you're just giving, if that makes sense. And it means that you're chasing and never really arriving. So overgiving until you're empty, you that might look like something like you're packing your offer with all of these extras instead of focusing on just like one thing. So you're putting too much in, thinking that you're trying to give all of this value when you don't actually need to, and it kind of dilutes your message. It's even overgiving for clients in that, you don't have boundaries on when you will and won't answer your phone or text messages, discounting before they're even asking, that sort of stuff. And that's because deep down you're terrified that you're probably not going to give a lot of value. So there's a lot of scarcity and lack mindset there. Then comes resentment because you're exhausted, right? Secretly dreading calls, not really actually wanting to do your sessions or provide your service at a level that is, at a high standard because again, your nervous system is fried and you're overexhausted. Fear-based decisions are going to be a big part of it coming from a place of trauma as well. So, launching out of sheer panic, posting out of panic, feeling like you have to just, again, do more, and hustle culture, I guess, is one of them. Even things like lowering your prices out of scarcity or saying yes to collaborations that you don't really want to do. And that's because probably saying no actually feels really uncomfortable. But when you're running your business from your truth and from alignment, it feels different. It actually feels quite good in the body, and you can kind of tell the difference. It is harder for people who are up in their heads way too much and aren't connected to themselves, because that's another thing as well. If you're disconnected from who you are, then your business is going to suffer as well. And that's also coming from a place of trauma if you're not actually connected to your own truth. So it needs to feel like you're connected to yourself, it's in alignment, and it's really purposeful, and it's fueling you instead of hollowing you out, is probably how I would describe the two. So if somebody's wanting to fix that or shift it from trauma into truth, come to me and heal all your trauma. No, I'm kidding. But awareness is obviously the first. I always start with awareness. So you need to notice where your business is being driven by fear, or just where you have a lot of fear or scarcity or lack mindset, even people pleasing. So awareness is going to kind of like crack everything open. And then underneath that, a really good tip is to pause before reacting. And I would say this even to people pleasers, to pause, because we're so quick to just say yes to everything without actually checking in with our internal compass to go, do I have the capacity to deliver on this? Can I actually make time for this so that it's meaningful? Do I really actually want to connect with this person, or am I just doing it for views, So really pausing and checking in on yourself. And then the last two things I would say is just start really small. So pick one area to stop abandoning yourself in your business, because I dare say that if you're coming from trauma, there is a lot of self-abandonment coming. And maybe it is going back to just having boundaries with your clients and not abandoning your need for rest, as an example, and then rebuilding from a place of safety. So we need to be able to create safety within ourselves to create safety within our business and extend that out to clients. The more that your body feels safe, the easier it is to make the decisions that you need to make, and coming again from without the lens of your trauma, and making sure that that's coming from a place of alignment and truth. So safety first, strategy second.
And do you think that by being truly in alignment with self and feeling all those good feelings, feeling safe in your body and in your decision making, in who you are, joy and fulfillment and all that good stuff, do you think that naturally you then become a magnet to attract those business opportunities and relationships and working with the people and on the projects, and being able to say yes to the things that you want to say yes to and no to the things that you want to say no to? Or does it not always work that way? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, as a startup, sometimes, and I guess I'm an example of this, you're like, I've got to say yes to this, and because I need the money coming in, and I need to grow the business, and I don't feel like I'm in a position to be saying no to that because I need the capital and so on and so forth? Or do you think that there would be no need for that if you're in alignment with self and you're attracting the right opportunities coming your way? Or is there a balance?
No, I do think that, as an example, I've said no to clients when my books have been empty, to potential clients, because, throughout our conversation, it's either something that I, not that I couldn't help with, but maybe they don't really feel ready, and they're expecting for me to be the solution for them, as opposed to letting the process work for them, if that makes sense. So if I'm getting that sense that they're actually wanting me to do the work for them, I won't work with people. I think the more that you stay true to yourself from the get-go, the easier down the track it's going to be when it really matters, when your books are really busy, when you're starting to build. The more disconnected that you are from yourself now, and you continue to do that, again, that's just self-abandonment over and over again. And the further you get away from yourself, the harder it is to come back. So I think from the get-go, stay in your integrity. Integrity is a really big value for me, both professionally and personally. But I think if you can stick within that and just trust that as you are connecting with yourself more and more, you are going to attract the right amount of people, because you're showing up differently in your business. And, by having that discernment as well, it's just going to make room for the people that are meant for you.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I love that answer. So entrepreneurship constantly stretches us, as we know. How do you personally move through fear or resistance when you're growing into your next level? I kind of feel like we've already touched upon it, but
yeah. So I can answer that fairly quickly, again, without going into the self-directed healing process, but I meet fear like a companion, not an enemy. So when I feel resistance, I don't bulldoze through it. I sit with it, I feel it, I notice it, I witness it, I get really curious with it, because most of the time it's not the CEO in me that's scared. It's some other part of me, whether that's my inner child, the people pleaser that doesn't want to be judged. So I kind of get a little bit more curious with that part of me. And then when I tend to her and her needs, then the fear will soften anyway. And there's a really good quote. I don't think she actually came up with it, but it was Layla Hormozi who said that fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. And that kind of just changed my brain chemistry as well, because once you kind of understand that, fear is not something to be feared, then you can move through it without a lot of resistance as well.
Okay, awesome. What's something emotional healing has taught you about marketing or selling that strategy never could?
People don't really want to be sold to. They want to be seen. You don't need to sell harder, you need to see deeper, is probably the biggest thing that I have learned.
So spending time building connection, would you say? Like how would you approach that? Seeing someone and not selling to them and constantly speaking at them, but seeing them. Like how do you go through the stages of seeing them?
Yeah, so I don't approach sales calls like they're sales calls, essentially. Like I'm walking into a sales conversation trying to understand whether or not the tool that I have can actually support their needs, their desires, and their desired outcome. And in order for me to really understand that, I need to go really deep with them. But I also am happy to go as deep as possible because I go deep within myself as well. I can meet people at a level that they probably haven't gone before, and I'm not scared to take them in a little bit deeper. And I think that once they can see themselves as this, healed, I don't want to say fully healed person, but as this person that can actually handle what life has thrown at them and what life will throw at them, then, they feel really understood. They feel seen. And it's easier to kind of have that conversation when you can get them to that point too.
Do you see entrepreneurship as a spiritual path? And if so, how has it shaped your connection to yourself and the work that you're here to do?
I guess, like in a big nutshell, it's kind of made me realize that my work is more than me. I do think that it's one of the most confronting spiritual paths that one will ever go down, because it does strip away a lot of the masks and every illusion of control, especially as you're starting out. I found it's going to mirror back your deepest wounds. And I know that did for me initially as well. And it was things, again, like it was just another layer that I needed to work through. But it's been a path of surrender as well, which I think is where spirituality can also come into it. That's a lot of what spirituality is about. Trusting timing, trusting my voice, and trusting, again, that what I'm creating is bigger than me. So deeply spiritual, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all that. I really appreciate it. If someone listening to this right now is in the middle of something that's quite messy and stretching parts of their journey that may feel hard and heavy for them, what's the one truth that you'd want them to hold on to right now?
I don't think people are going to like this.
No,
it's lean into your pain. It's lean into the discomfort, because if you don't deal with it now, then you're going to deal with it later as you're getting bigger or deeper into your business, into your journey, and it's only going to feel worse. So lean in, feel it all, do not run, face it, feel it to free it fully.
Yeah. That's easier said than done. I couldn't agree with you more. It's, you're like, right, okay, I don't want to sit with this. I just want to try. That's why
no one does. No one does. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today and agreeing to jump on and do this podcast. I really do appreciate it. And finally, where can people connect with you online if they want to dive deeper into the work that you do?
So I am on TikTok under the handle @GoodGirlDropout. I'm only on TikTok at the moment. Otherwise, you can go to my website, which is just www.ashleyalice.com, or you can drop me an email, which is also through my TikTok or through the website.
Perfect. All All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No worries at all.